mpango yake ilikuwa ni Gachagua afungwe, alafu wachague mtu mwingine ambaye anayetaka na hatoki hapa mlimani, na alikuwa amepanga kubadilisha katiba, akae hapo, akae.
IKONINI, 8th October 2024, it'll go down in history as the first time that Kenya ilibaki impeach a deputy president. So votes zilibaki zimetokea, inasemekana 281 MPs voted yes to impeach, 44 waka vote no, alafu mmoja aka abstain. Mmoja ule ali abstain, they might as well have voted no. So wacha tuseme 45 wali vote no, alafu 281 waka vote yes. And ilikuwa very interesting to see, like Ruto alikuwa gamse moja ule alikuwa na tembeaga sana akisema vile hapendi the politics of deceit, na time yake vitu zitakuwa different. And alikuwa na associate the politics of defeat na President Uhuru. And Ruto unajua ni mse moja ule, like if you come to conniving politicians, you have to respect this guy, because this guy is the same guy ule vile walikuwa voted in akakuwa like the deputy president elect. Unakumbuka alibaki ameishiaga kwa church na akabaki amelia, and I guess alikuwa amejama, anashindwa ni aje jo, since umsa anaitwa Rigathi akuwe voted in, he's never cried. So wacha tuone, wacha tulia kidogo.
I'm really sorry. Naomba radhi hakika.
I'm really sorry. Okay, so kwa nafikiri niko na support hii impeachment, pia mimi wacha nikwambie jo mapema, I'm really sorry. Kusikuwa na support hii impeachment. So, wacha to get into the whole nitty-gritty za hii story. So, everyone may come up with their own story on why they thought that this guy should be impeached. And we are going to go through a few of those people. And I think tunafaa kuanza na umsa naitwa Farah Maalim. Because Farah Maalim, of course, this is the guy that said that ile time Gen Z protesters walikuwa na protest, alikuwa anasema if it was up to him, angebaki amededisha 5,000 Kenyans every day because of trying to impeach, yani for protesting against Ruto. Umse alisema angededisha how many Kenyans per day? Angededisha 5,000 Kenyans per day. This same guy stood on the floor of the house and had the cojones, unajua cojones za kusema,
Speaker, many people have been deputy presidents or vice presidents or number 2 in the executive here. I am glad I have been vindicated, because about a year ago I had said that Rigathi Gachagua is the worst number 2 in the history of this country. And I'm sure now I'm being vindicated. Order.
Umecheki. Huyo mse ule alisema that how many? That 5,000 Kenyans wanafaa kudedishwa daily. Huyo mse alisimama in the floor of the house na kabaki amesema kuwa Gachagua is the worst deputy president ever. Huyo mse hakuwa impeached. Hakuwa even in parliament, hakuwa questioned on why he would say that the Kenya government needs kudedisha mayouth wangapi? Ina need kudedisha mayouth 5,000 per day because tunatry kutoa Ruto. And kitu kama hii ndio waga inanikumbusha like a few things. Mimi nikitry ku express some words don't come to me, lakini in the infamous words za the philosopher Mike Sonko, mimi ningekuwa jo Gachagua alafu nisikie umse amesema hivi juu yangu jo, ningebaki kusahau jo, hii ni iko nini, ningebaki nimeget hiyo spirit ya Mike Sonko, alafu nimwambie
Galmana wewe, changa, makende wewe, niko nini, chazi wewe,
na iko nene. Yes, like wase kama hawa wakitokea inakuonyesha why this was such a political process, because when you think about vitu zile Gachagua amefanya, are they as bad as some of these people? Tutakuja kwa rais, najua, because one of the things ile unasema ni this guy has unexplained wealth. Mimi nimekuwa nikisema from day one jo, nionyesheni kuku tu moja ile Ruto ashaiuza jo, kuku moja tu, hata ikiwa kwa tumbo ya mtu tuko buda jo, siwamke jo, hiyo kuku iko wapi? Alafu if you are to look at the character of people and talk about how people have acquired wealth, do we all forget that Ruto ilibidi arudishie buda fulani 100 acres of land? Alirudishia mtu 100 acres of land, alikuwa amegrab. Alafu sasa tuko hapa tunasema Gachagua is the worst guy to ever exist. But now kulikuwa na some allegations that I found to be super interesting, because I don't know how true these allegations are, and if they are true, if they're not true, the family ya Rigathi Gachagua from your side ya bro wake wanafaa kutokea, because kulikuwa na hizi allegations zilikuwa done ama zilikuwa made na umsa naitwa Osoro. Huo Osoro mushindaga nikisema like kuhusu ile Osoro wa IKONINI, because IKONINI iko na Osoro wake, then kuna huyu clown anaitwa Osoro, huyo anakuaga parliament. Alibaki amesema
today we are using the sword to impeach you just to protect the children that are suffering, that you threatened, that you blackmailed, that you told that if you dare speak or utter a word, I am the deputy president of Kenya, elected by 7.2 million people. I will finish you. Finish who? We will finish you today in this.
So apparently ama allegedly kuna vile Gachagua alibaki amechukua property ya bro wake, after bro wake ya dedi alibaki amegrab hiyo property na kanyang'anya watoi wa bro wake Ruto Gachagua. I don't know how true that is, unajua. And pia Ruto Gachagua mwenyewe, if you dig into history yake una find out that back in the days, I think 10 years ago when he was still ile time bado alikuwa this was 2017, kuna watu walikuwa try kumimpeach. So he was not like this guy who had a perfect record, of course. Like wanasemekana he misappropriated like 400 million. Part of the property ile nafight hapo pia iko worth 400 million. So I don't know how it was a good defense to use that brother as the source of the wealth, hapo sijui. But it was interesting kuona clown wakiwa hapo wakiongea mbaya juu ya Gachagua na wakiongea juu ya the fact that ati yuko na unexplained wealth. Na saa hiyo kuna karitad fulani ukiendaga tu online jo unabaki umekapata kana fly na ndege na ni ka wanted murderer kana fly na ndege. Yani Kenya waga country interesting sana, because I'd have to ask, I don't know, I did not watch the whole proceeding, so kuna watu kadhaa wale nibaki nimecheki, but naweza taka kujua huyu clown anaitwa Didmas Barasa, did he vote? And if he voted, what was in his conscience ile time alikuwa anasema that according to yeye Gachagua anafaa kuwa impeached? Cause what worse crime is it than murder? Niambie, kuna crime worse than hiyo? Umse of course siku hizi kuna helicopter, where he got his helicopter, comparing ukiangalia salary ya MPs, how much do MPs earn? How does he have a helicopter? But ataki kuongea hiyo, unajua tuna concentrate tu na umse moja anaitwa Gachagua. So story ya Gachagua will get even more interesting, because kuna time mother anaitwa Gladys Boss Sholei alibaki ametokea. Alafu unajua Gladys Boss Sholei, wewe unajuaga tu haka ni kahound, kahound kanani jo Ruto jo. Kametokea pale kakaweko nene jo. Nimekuja kutetea Ruto jo. So alikuwa anatoa zingine za ovyo, and aliblame mpaka nani juu ya finance bill. Hii ilikuwa funny sana kusikia ati wana blame Gachagua because of the way that he reacted during the finance bill. You remember the finance bill? I don't think anyone needed anything. Like we all knew that this finance bill was not right, and we all went to the streets tukasema hatutaki hii kitu, lakini gava ikaamua pia kutuambia eko nene, si ndio? So acha tuanze na hii part ya finance bill.
I also want to go on to refer to the press conference that the Deputy President held in Mombasa on the 25th of June 2024. In that particular press statement, he distanced himself from the Finance Bill 2024. As a member of cabinet, in his position as Deputy President, he is collectively responsible for all the decisions that are made in cabinet, and therefore, in distancing himself, he violated Article 153 of the Constitution.
So, if I'm not wrong, June 25th is the same day that around that time ndio tulikuwa tunaona Gachagua akiwa na bag yake akiingia kwa ndege akishia masaidi za Mombasa. Nakumbuka like walikuwa washaji distance na yeye. So the protest start at that point. You don't like Gachagua, Now all of a sudden you want Gachagua to be your friend. Najua, it makes no sense. Like if you're treating me like shit, I don't care about Nini. Alafu vile nashinda nikisema Gachagua, like even right now when I think about how he handled his impeachment, it makes me feel like he handled it like a gentleman, because mi ningekuwa na impeachiwa mnanijuaga jo, mi ni msewa nene, and if I was being impeached ningebaki jo nime go back to the spirit, and this spirit ile imekuwa ningebaki bring nile spirit ya Sonko akiwa impeached. I mean ningechachisha jo, lakini Gachagua, you still have time jo, ingia hapo jo kwa Senate wakumbushe kile Sonko aliwaambia.
Wewe changa makende, wewe niko nini?
Mesikia jo, nene, mimi ningewatukana jo, mwezi ongea mbaya hivi kunihusu. So wacha to go back to another thing that Umadha alisema. So during the same time akasema that contradicting your principle ni kitu moja ile like it's unthinkable. Unacheki, like the person who's been sent by Ruto, the one guy who disrespected Uhuru in all ways possible, did everything that Uhuru hated. Paka ilifika time he was not doing any work, kazi yake ilikuwa ni kutangatanga, mpaka wakaanza kuitwa tangatanga. That guy sends his hound dog, and hound dog yake nabaki imesema ati going against the principle is unthinkable.
Unthinkable for a principal assistant to contradict the principal. If you want to contradict the principal, you resign your position and go and contradict them from outside.
Wasikia? So, Ruto, and cause baadaye kuna vile akabuda kanaitwa Gachagua alienda pa amejitetea na akasema that he learned from his boss. And that was a good thing to hear, but tutakamka hiyo part. But Ruto ilifikaga level paka alikuwa naambia Uhuru do not kill me, unacheki, because walikuwa wamekosana to your level. So huyu mse ukienda, when you go out there and you start telling the president not to kill you, are you not contradicting them? Are you not saying that this person does not respect human life na vitu kama hizo? Ama where is it? So kuna vitu zile Gladys Boss-Sholei alikuwa anasema hapo, alafu nilikuwa nasikia tu kucheka, because naona like this was such a political fight and the ODM clowns had all joined in and they were there. Nacheki madha kama hata Ruth Odinga was there akipatiana two cents zake, ako like be like Jaramogi, resign. Na saa hiyo hii time anasema hivyo, nacheki like some of the things tutabonga juu Kimani Ichung'wah, some of the things that he accused Gachagua of are some of the things that Raila has been accused of. Naangalia time kuna semanga like Raila is so violent, is the lord of violence. The same thing saizi nasemekana Gachagua is the lord of violence. Kumbuka, the country was so divided that for a very long time a lot of people thought Raila was the lord of violence. Till ile time tulienda kwa streets tukabaki tumaona the lord of violence na kwa the government. Hiyo time ndio watu wako oh shit, kumbe government wao inadedisha watu jo. Hakunaga hizi vitu au sama zina happen kwa streets, ni government ina shoot watu. So how can we then turn and say the same thing about Gachagua? Tukiangalia even the Odinga family, kuna mtu kama Winnie ni dem nishaikaga na chini na yeye ni dem na admire. I think that she's very sharp, and for me to see her they are advocating like where is a blackout when you need one, inamaanisha budaki ashamwambia we are getting rid of Gachagua, acheki. And so I want to know, have they been promised this DP position? Cause hata mtu aseme nini, and this is something ile of course watu wengi sana kina hata Ian and who else, Mijungu, watu wanafeel ni kama Rigathi Gachagua does not have the weight. I still think he has that weight, and I think he has that weight because this government is doing so badly that even if people did not love Gachagua, they hate the government. And I feel like with this, someone would have to convince me otherwise, but if you had to ask me, I think the president has lost the mountain. Mlima iko wapi? President ame lose the mountain. But wacha tuendelee na hizi story. And kitu moja ile nilibamba na Gachagua ni alikuja kama amejipanga. So another thing ile aliambiwa ni alikuwa naambiwa that vile alicriticize NIS ati that was wrong to criticize the NIS, and this is interesting coming from vile alienda pa alijitetea na clip ya Ruto akizusha juu ya kina Motiambai. So alikuwa naambiwa that ile time after protests happen alibaki ametokea akasema that NYS should have briefed the president and told him that people were anti the finance bill, but I don't think even the NIS needed to do that. It was all over. Tulikuwa tunaandika kwa Twitter, Devindia na Twitter wankers, it was there. No one needed to tell you this, but I feel like when Gachagua criticized NIS, no one took it personal, like apart from Faramalim and unajua and his now wase kama na reason kama yeye wale walifikiria it's an attack on a community. No one else thought it was an attack on a community. So sikia jo vile Gachagua alikuwa accused again tena jia stories za NIS.
Contravene the law. 4, during the press conference in Mombasa on the 25th of June 2024, the Deputy President accused the Director General of NIS of providing faulty intelligence and firing some senior officers. As a state officer, and most importantly, as a member of the National Security Council, under Article 240, the members of the National Security Council, at Clause 2B, the Deputy President is a member. He then cannot discuss intelligence briefs that come to his knowledge during the proceedings of the National Security Council. Again.
So, hapa kuna vile Gachagua alijitetea. Gachagua alisema like it was within his rights to criticize us, say for not giving them like enough information, and even went ahead and gave an example of vile after 911 kuna vile wasalikuwa na criticize the FBI, wanasema kuwa the FBI haikuwarn Americans about that imminent threat ya terrorism. So he ended up defending himself really well. And if I was to jump kidogo, we'll come back to this clown sama MP, but if I was to jump kidogo, I'd go to kuna kitu moja ile still like according to Mimi Gachagua, he gave such a good defense, but these people had made up their minds, because even some of the things that they came up with wakikabla wanze nini walisema that 66% kwa public participation walisema that we should get rid of Gachagua. That's a lie. A lot of people were against history ya Gachagua, and the people who are pro it were saying kufa dereva kufa makanga. So what they were saying, both of them have to go together. To start separating them and claiming that moja ni moja ni better than mwingine ni upuzi. And still hizi crimes zile tuna accuse Gachagua of, if we are to talk about these crimes, the president has committed worse crimes. Like a lot of Kenyans wamekufa just for protesting. Hakuna kitu yote ile wamedu, ni kuprotest tu, wasokatandikwa marisasi, and none of these MPs has come out to say. That's why mse kama Faramalim anaweza baki amesimama na baki amesema wase 5,000 wadedishwe. Alafu after kusema wase 5,000 wadedishwe, that same person has the guts to go and say that according to him, so 5,000, that according to him, Gachagua is the worst. Sijaisikia place yote, and this is something I keep saying. I've never heard Gachagua say that tuna need kudedisha watu 5,000. Yeah? And anyone who thinks that 5,000 lives mean nothing should not be anywhere near parliament. But apart from anywhere near parliament, that sort of person should not be anywhere near an impeachment trying to be better than anyone. You are the lowest of the lowest. You're part of the problem. You're the people who don't respect human life, and the fact that you don't respect human life, you've dehumanized Kenyans, and you are comfortable with them sleeping hungry. Yeah? You're comfortable with the corruption. That's why mnaweza kaa hapo mwanze kudefend a president who cannot be defended. This government, like a lot of people keep saying, this government was impeached on June 25th. Right now it's clutching on straws. You can impeach Gachagua, but that won't change the fact that sisi wenyewe kama wa Kenya tuliwa impeach on June 25th. And the only way mnaenda kushinda hii election ni mkipata a very compromised IEBC, and if the opposition just drops the ball. Otherwise nyinyi wote mnaishia home. Na according to mimi, I still stick na kufa dereva kufa makanga. Hasa wawili wanakuja kama terms and conditions.
Nataka kusema hivi, katika dakika 3 ambazo nimepewa, Nimekuwa busy, nasikia watu wanapiga kelele, mara huyu aende, mara huyu abaki. Nataka niwaambie leo ya kwamba William Ruto and Gachagua is like terms and conditions. It is like an offer where you buy one and get one free.
Yes. So tuki-impeach one, tunafaa kuwa tuna-impeach the other free. Try tu saa hizi, muite bomas, public participation, alafu mseme, let's impeach Ruto. Let's see how many people are going to be in that bomas saying that we should not impeach Ruto. Wanachekia Gachagua ilikuwa 50-50. Wacha tu try hiyo ingine. You'd have to transport people from somewhere else. And you have to make sure au peke yao ndio wameingia bomas. Otherwise it would be ugly. That's how much people have lost faith in the Ruto government. But still, wacha to go back to ka mtu kalikuwa kametumwa kuja kafanye Gachagua ka like the worst person to ever run for political office in Kenya. And one thing you have to know that personally, do I really care about Gachagua? No, I don't. But one thing that I care about is this thing of politicians pretending they care what Kenyans think. You don't. Our biggest problem in this country is corruption, and you're not fighting corruption, you're just fighting Gachagua. And the reason you're fighting Gachagua is because right now, how much is the president worth? Let's say Gachagua is worth 5 billion Kenyan shillings. If right now someone told you that the president is worth $5 billion, would you argue? I doubt if you'd argue. But then I'd ask you, where this chicken that he used to sell? Acheki. So why? Kwa nini tunataka Gachagua? But wacha sasa tusikie jo. Apparently Gachagua committed treason. Not directly, but through the people of Githurai.
Five, during the rally in Githurai, Nairobi, which was presided over by the deputy president, with some members of parliament present, he was involved in leading chants that said, Ruto must go. Ruto is a one-term president. He never denounced those statements. What that amounts to is that he is guilty of treason and other allied offenses. That is the Penal Code, Section 40. And I will read it out, just that there is no doubt. It says that any person owing allegiance to the Republic of Kenya or else of Kenya, if they compass, imagine, invent, devise any deeds with the intention of the death, the maiming, the wounding, the imprisonment, or restraint of the president is guilty of treason.
So, tukichant, Ruto must go. Are we trying to maim him? Are we trying to injure him? Are we trying to restrain him? Are we trying to imprison him? Acheki. And what was Gachagua supposed to do? The crowd, hata saizi majuzi crowd ya Blankets and Wine ilikuwa ina scream Ruto must go. Before Blankets and Wine kulikuwa na Walkertown, kulikuwa na Ruto must go. So what's supposed to happen? Nini inafaa ku happen if everyone has decided that this is the worst president? Let me use the infamous words Zafara Malim alisema na Nini the worst deputy president ever. So am I also allowed to say that this is the worst president ever? So where is this crap yote ya treason inatoka wapi? But so yeah, yes, according to me, if you had to ask me, say alijidefend very well because the clowns had been released and the clowns were coming up na vitu zingine za ajabu kabisa. Kama I remember there's this clown from Migori ilitokea ikituambia vile the country iko at stake unless to impeach nani, unless tubaki tume impeach anaitwa Gachagua, the country iko at stake jo. Yeah, the country will never be the same. Cheki, like Gachagua is the worst thing to ever happen to the 254. Yeah, sikize ni clown jo. Hii ni clown fulani inatoka hizo masai za Migori.
Honorable Speaker, national security is at stake. Honorable Speaker, the economy is at stake. Honorable Speaker, the DP, since he assumed office, we have witnessed nothing but abuse of power, discrimination against communities, insubordination, disregard for the two levels of government, corruption, bullying, and many other actions that...
Okay, not an aulize. Who is putting the country's security at stake. The person who's auctioning the airport, the person who's giving our power grid to foreigners, or the person who has no appointing authority. Umse iko na zero appointing authority. I remember like in an earlier video nilibonga jia like the sort of tribalism ile the president amedu ile where he ended up like the head of a lot of these parastatals are just from one community, and I think maybe that's even one of the fights that they had with Gachagua. Lazima Gachagua alikuwa namuuliza like hey buda jo hii kitu jo aurishi hata itakuwa tu ni githeri peke yake, yani ni mahindi peke yake, silikuwa inafaa kuwa githeri, ongeza ka beans 2-3, alafu hapo ndio kaenda pamekosana. So when I'm saying all these things, I'm not trying to defend and say that Gachagua is this great person. No, what I'm trying to say is he proceeding ilikuwa puzi, and anyone who watched Gachagua knows that he defended himself, that if the legislative arm ya hii government was a functioning legislative arm, this guy would not have been impeached. But the fact that right now we don't have a functioning parliament, we just have clowns, and these clowns just sing any tune. Ruto akiwambia shake matako wana shake matako, there's nothing, they don't reason for themselves. Alafu you have these ODM clowns who have basically nothing between their ears, zinafuata tu blindly, baba alisema wacha tuende tumtoe. Unapata even lawyers like akina Utiende Amolo telling us the way Gachagua is the worst. And what about the president? What about the president who was releasing the military on civilians? Ama saizi juu mko kwa gava, now you're supposed to forget that this guy released the military on civilians. Ama mnataka kutuambia that the chief of the armed forces ni nani? Ni Gachagua. Because according to me, that was an impeachable offense. We need to go back to this president who does business with the government. Even like nani alikuwa anaangusha ma subliminals akisema yeye hajaifanya business with the government. Sio hata tunajuaga Western Hotel always has watu wanatoka like Rift Valley counties to come and sleep at Western. Why? Okay, so there are a few MPs wale nilifind wakiwa reasonable, and some of them ended up at least talking and saying things that I thought were reasonable. Like kuna buda moja ule alienda pa bring up issue ya tribalism, that if we are actually trying to fight tribalism, we have to go to the person who has shown us that if you don't come from a specific community, it's going to be really hard for him to appoint you to one of these parastatals. And the guy we are talking about ni nani?
And I'm telling you, Mr. Speaker, actions speak louder than words. The Deputy President may have said that he is a shareholder and there are issues about his community, but if you look at the appointments that are being made in Kenya, then you will realize that the person of the president himself is the one who is the biggest tribalist, Mr. Speaker, because he's appointing people from his own community for every position. Mr. Speaker, if we have to find a situation where a school has failed, you do not fire the deputy principal. You get rid of the principal.
Meskia, you get rid of the principal. Let him say, like, he's so tribal and he's made tribalism such a common thing that right now I think MCSK kuna Joshua Kutuni. Ushaonaga Joshua Kutuni akipita pale ukasikia kushake rasa, and reason ulisikia kushake rasa ni juli ulifeel ni kama you need to dance. No, you've never seen that. So we have this one guy who right now he's being anaikuwa like the victim, anasumbuliwa na deputy wake. They have a deputy who's gone wild, and this guy is so good and anasumbuliwa na deputy wake, so we need to get rid of the deputy. Na story kama hizi ndio ufanyaga saa zingine unanipata niko pahali tu nimechill, alafu nabaki nimechiki story kama hii na happen hapa Kenya, alafu I get really sad, and sometimes when I get sad I just cry.
I'm really sorry. Naomba radhi hakika.
Kwa nini wifi iko hapa kunishika nikiendelea na hii podcast. So yes, so Gachagua amekuwa impeached, and yeah, so now what next? I think Gachagua next anaenda kujitetea the Senate. I think that should be next week on Thursday, but a few people ended up asking the right questions. Yes, so And before tuangalie the other person who asked the right questions, wacha tuende jo kwa mzee mwenyewe jo. Wasapere wanamuitaga moka wa Ruto jo. Kama jo kuna raya moja jo imeshikilia Ruto jo. Ruto asifanya hii raya ikuwe deputy president, yenye atakuwa amebetray hii raya. Kuzi raya jo iko pale jo. Mpaka ilibaki me bring up ile kitu nilikuwa nasema, this is something that someone like Raila na watu wake walikuwa wanafaa kuifight, because this is something that Raila has been accused of, and Gachagua was accused of the same thing. So wacha tusikize jo, anaitangwa ni moka wa Ruto. Yes,
Honorable Speaker, behind the veneer of humility that you have seen here this evening, behind the veneer of humility that Kenyans saw on national TVs on Sunday, pretending to apologize, is a dark face of violence, is a dark face, Honorable Speaker, that is a great danger to our nationhood, a great danger to the unity of our republic, Honorable Speaker, a danger to the cohesive existence of our nation as we see it today, Honorable Speaker.
So, and then back nimeuliza the same thing. Who is more of a danger to the country as we know it? The guy auctioning the airport, auctioning the power grid, auctioning the health sector for personal gain, ama this other dude who has no job. Mimi on this platform nishasema very many times that the deputy president job is one of the most useless jobs because you have nothing to do. You're basically a flower girl. And that's why Ruto could be tanga for whatever years he was and no one missed him. That's the reality of that job. So to say that that job is going to affect the fabric of the country is to be dishonest. Alafu, to call this guy the most tribal. There's someone right now who's part of the presidential advice. All he talks about is foreskins. He's fascinated na foreskins. And no one has ever given him an opportunity to just go to Kisumu and smell a few foreskins and make himself happy. So if you have such a person seated next to the president, advising the president about economy, na mnashindwa why the economy stinks like 15 foreskins, 15, not 14. Macheki. And hii sasa nilo ujinga ina happen. Because now we are supposed to be like, oh damn, Gachagua ni mbaya. Unajua reason, nini kuna vile Kenya idupo waju Gachagua amekuwa tribal. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo. Na hii ni ujinga work back in the days before people had information. Like he could just tell us that this is the villain and we'd all go for that villain. But this nonsense is starting to end because people are starting to see through the bullshit. And we can see that Adani deal has nothing to do with the deputy president. I don't think it's been mentioned anywhere. Don't tell me about the Olive Hotel. Fuck Olive Hotel. Inanisaidia na nini sijui vipingo bla bla bla. Hainisaidii na chochote. Niambie juu ya Adani. Alafu niambie juu ya Chief. Alafu niambie juu ya kuzumsee kama ni deputy na mnampatia access ya 5.2 billion. Afanye nayo nini? He does not handle any budgets. I think hata alijitetea hivyo akasema handle ligi budgets zote. So amepata access ya hii doaji. Na tukiuliza juu ya Dani tunapelekwa left, right and center. Tukiambiwa that Chief is good for us. We are like okay sawa. Chief is good for us. But so alafu naambiwa Chief inalipwa na Safaricom. We thought Adani were coming with money. What happened to that? So there's also one person that I find interesting because this guy said that hii story yote, it's a political fight that could have been solved just within like UDA itself. They did not need to take the deputy president through what they took him through. And I think alikuwa anaitwa Geoffrey Wandeto. Yes, Geoffrey Wandeto alibaki amesema that according to yeye, and I feel like this thing could have been solved just through UDA yenyewe. Like they have their own disciplinary committee, and through this disciplinary committee they could have solved this story and there was no need for all the politics. But the politics were courtesy of William Samoei Ruto, who's bored with his deputy and has decided to take him out. Like get rid of him. And now we'll see his next political move.
Our party, UDA, on which the deputy president was elected, has internal disciplinary mechanisms which have not been exhausted so as to bring this matter to this house.
Meskia, hii kitu ingeenda up imesolviwa at a party level. But what ended up happening is we have a president who has decided that since the opposition is full of clowns, all they need is just a little money and they start running here pretending that they believe in this bullshit. No one believes, no one who uses common sense believes in this. Show me where. Naweza kuonyesha clip za hii place inaitwa nini, like watu wakiwa Bomas wakisema Ruto must go, but even watu wakiwa Bomas, I don't remember a single person singing Rigathi must go, because Rigathi is a non-issue. He is a fucking non-issue. Like ilikuwa like we nyamaza pale, we ni deputy president, you have nothing to do, tulia, kula tu salo yako, tulia, wacha. But the president on the other hand is that one guy who's out here just, you know, just cannibalizing the country. And as he cannibalizes the country, we are supposed to be here clapping for him and pretending that pretending that Rigathi was the problem all along. Rigathi has never been the problem. And to the MPs, yenyewe mlifanya kazi yenyu, but pia mimi niko na a special message to nyinyi wote kama ma MPs, cause mlifanya kazi nzuri sana, mlituonyesha how betrayal works, and after kutuonyesha how betrayal works, I feel like yes, it's time to asalimia tu kidogo tu, hakuna unajua si ndio mlifanya kazi yenyu. So this is me saying thank you to all of you.
Motherfucker. Fatherfucker. Friendfucker.
Mmesikia, hivyo ndio tunawaambia. Hiyo kazi mlifanya, because mliend up betray one of your own for 30 pieces of silver, claiming that this guy is the most tribal guy. Like when I sit down and I say this as someone who's experienced this tribalism shit. I've had it. I've been insulted because of my tribe. So I know this shit. This is some shit that I deal with once in a while. Najua ile nikikosana na raya fulani na mwajua kuniangalia deki nikaisha na deki yangu. So and Rigathi Gachagua has never been anapigania watu wa mlima. Haikuagi ati chukua kutoka kwa watu patia watu wa mlima. Inakuaga tu ni shareholders. Alafu of course you have the two clowns. You have the speaker and you have the office of the spouse, unakumbuka, of the prime minister or prime cabinet secretary. You remember I'm a clown. Apparently walikuwa nafaa kupatiwa 30% and they were given 2%. Damn. Kuzumsa naitwa Gachagua, he even released like a contract. Like ile contract ilikuwa imesainiwa. And that's why akijitetea alinibamba sana because alikuwa anasema he's being punished because he's a truthful man. Yeah, he's a truthful man. That's why he's being punished. But when all is said and done, when I think about this whole story, kile neza sema ni Gachagua actually defended himself, and he not only defended himself, he defended himself very well. But Parliament came there knowing they were going to impeach him. So there was nothing that he was going to do or say that was going to change whatever they were thinking about this whole thing. And bado inanibamba sana ile time wako wanasema ati kuna time you criticize Makarao, kuna time you criticize Nini, alafu Iraya jo ikasema jo I'm going to pull a script. So this guy, he literally played a clip ya Ruto akiwa deputy president akiongea mbaya juu ya Mtiambai na Kinoti, alafu akabaki amejitetea that how he learned how to do his job.
Honorable members, that was President William Ruto as deputy president criticizing IG Mutiabai, DCI Kinoti. Rigathi Gachagua has learned his job from his boss, that public officers must be called to order when they fell short of expectation. And I never saw anybody bring William Ruto here for impeachment, for criticizing the IG or the DCI.
Mesikia, hao wote hawakuwa iletwa ikam to history ya impeachment, but Urjavilo semaga si kila mnyama ni sawa. So kuna wale wanyama wako sawa kushinda wengine. And so fate ya Rigathi Gachagua saizi vile tumesema imebaki kwa the hands of the Senate, and that's going to happen next week on Thursday. Do you expect the Senate to save him? No. The Senate is full of clowns, just like easy other Nini. They're just going to do what the executive wants to do. And one thing I have to thank Ruto for is he's opened an avenue that's going to show if you can impeach a deputy governor, we can impeach. If you can impeach a deputy president, we can impeach a president. And I can say, like, I think the last time most of us tulibaki tumecheki tears za Ruto. Okay, vile alikuwa elected president, he also cried. But I don't think that hizo cries zilikuwa as sweet za zile zake za kuwa elected as deputy president. Because when he was the deputy president elect, you have to understand, jail is tricky, man. Unajua so ucheza na jela inakuwa tricky sana. So unajua hiyo time kuna vile walikuwa natishiwa, sijui hata baki wameishia hizo masai za Hague. Alafu uko Hague wapata na kina Charles Taylor. Alafu unajua kina Charles Taylor zile those dudes are different. So unajua ukiamua kitu kama hiyo yenyewe utakuwa depressed. Utakuwa zile nenda to Charles Taylor. Utakuwa alafu naomba usiangushe sabuni. Ukiamua nisiangushe sabuni.
I'm really sorry. Naomba radhi hakika.
Eko nene.